When you look out at the vast ocean, that incredible blue expanse, there's this feeling of peace, right?
Definitely.
But what if I told you that beneath that serene surface lurks, well, a cast of characters straight out of a sci-fi thriller?
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into some of the ocean's most, well, let's just say unfriendly fish.
Exactly. We've gathered some fascinating information looking at 10 fish that, while undeniably interesting, are probably best admired from a safe distance.
Right.
Our aim today isn't just to list them off, it's to really understand what makes them potentially dangerous and to maybe arm listeners with some knowledge about these intriguing, if a little intimidating, inhabitants of the sea.
And our jumping off point for this is an article from tWantToMeet titled 10 Most Deadly Fish Creatures in the World. It seems packed with some pretty eye-opening details.
It really is. Some surprising stuff in there.
So let's get right to it. Ready to plunge in. Let's start with the blowfish, a creature that's as bizarre as it is potentially deadly.
The blowfish. Yeah, it's certainly a marvel of evolution, and it comes with this kind of double whammy of defense.
A little whammy.
Yeah, as our source points out, it has that spiky skin, which is a pretty clear don't touch me signal. But the real danger, the big one, lies in a potent neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin.
Tetrodotoxin. Okay, that sounds serious. Where exactly is this stuff found in the blowfish? And what makes it so harmful if a predator or maybe even a person encounters it?
Well, the toxin is heavily concentrated in several of its internal organs, the intestines, ovaries, liver. It's even in the skin sometimes.
Okay.
Now, the article mentions this poison is typically released when the blowfish feels threatened and puffs up, into that classic ball shape.
Yeah.
The spikes might deter a curious nibbler.
Right.
But if something does manage to take a bite, or, and this is crucial, if the fish is improperly prepared for eating, that's when the tetrodotoxin can be ingested.
And the effects sound pretty grim. The source mentions it messes with the brain, leading to paralysis, weakness, even death. How does it actually do that in the body?
Well, tetrodotoxin is a really powerful neurotoxin. Basically, think of your nerves like tiny electrical wires sending signals, right? Tetrodotoxin acts like a roadblock on those wires. It specifically blocks the signals that tell your muscles to move. So this paralysis, it can start in the face and limbs, and eventually it hits the muscles you need for breathing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which makes it potentially fatal very quickly. It's like a swift shutdown of the nervous system's communication network.
That's chilling. Definitely not something you want to mess with. Now, the article also notes they're common in tropical waters, like around Indonesia. So if you happen to be swimming in those beautiful areas, it's something to be aware of, although I'd imagine they're not actively looking for trouble with humans.
No, that's right. Blowfish aren't typically aggressive towards people in their natural habitat. The danger usually comes from accidental ingestion by a predator that doesn't know better, or, sadly, through eating improperly prepared blowfish fugu, right?
Oh, fugu, yeah.
Preparing that safely requires real expert knowledge to meticulously remove those toxic parts. It's very specialized.
Fascinating and a little unnerving. Okay, let's move on to a creature pretty much everyone recognizes, the apex predator of the ocean, the great white shark. The article jokes it probably doesn't need an introduction.
Hey, no, probably not.
And, it's right.
The great white certainly lives up to its formidable reputation. Size, power, predatory skill. It's all there. The source highlights their typical hunting strategy, often a single, incredibly powerful bite, then they withdraw.
That sounds almost tactical.
Right.
But it's that single bite that's the real threat, isn't it? The article really emphasizes the massive damage it can cause to organs, tissue, potentially fatal.
Absolutely. The force in those jaws, combined with those razor-sharp teeth, it can cause devastating trauma in just one go. Even if that first bite isn't immediately lethal, the damage to vital organs or just significant blood loss can definitely lead to death. They've evolved to be top of the food chain for a reason.
Makes sense. And for anyone wondering where these magnificent, if dangerous creatures hang out, the article mentioned a couple of hotspots. Neptune Island off Australia.
Yep.
And Tiger Beach in the Bahamas. Definitely places where if you're in the water, it pays to be aware. Though I guess encounters for most swimmers are still pretty uncommon.
That's a really important point. While great whites are undeniably powerful predators, attacks on humans are, statistically speaking, quite rare. They play a crucial role in the marine ecosystem. Understanding their behavior, respecting their space, that's key to coexistence.
Agreed. Okay, let's shift gears dramatically now. Something much smaller, but, well, arguably even more dangerous. The box jellyfish. Our source doesn't pull any punches, calls it one of the most lethal and venomous marine creatures on Earth.
And that reputation is, unfortunately, well-deserved. What's particularly terrifying about the box jellyfish, as the article points out, is the incredibly short time frame. Its venom can be fatal in just a few minutes.
A few minutes? That's just horrifying.
It's an incredibly narrow window.
And to add insult to literal injury, the article mentions the sting can leave permanent scars. So even if you survive, you might have this lasting reminder.
Indeed, the venom itself is exceptionally potent and complex. The source says it directly attacks the cardiovascular system, rapidly weakening the heart rate. But it doesn't stop there. It can also severely impact the nervous system, cause intense muscle spasms. It's nasty stuff.
And the pain. The article specifically mentions the excruciating pain, suggesting the pain itself might even contribute to a fatal outcome sometimes, maybe by inducing shock or panic.
That's a very real possibility. The sheer intensity of the pain can be overwhelming, triggering a rapid, severe physiological response. It's a truly multi-pronged attack from this, seemingly delicate creature.
And they're found in some popular tourist spots, right? Australia, Japan, Mexico are listed. So if you're planning a dip in those waters, awareness and caution are definitely key.
Absolutely, especially during certain times of year when they're more prevalent in warmer, shallower waters near the shore. Protective clothing, like those full-body swimsuits, and paying attention to local warnings, highly recommended if you're in those areas during risk periods.
Good advice. Okay, moving from the notoriously venomous to something that, well, at first glance, looks deceptively beautiful.
Yeah.
The red lionfish. The article highlights its popularity in the South Pacific reef ecosystem because it's so striking.
Oh, the red lionfish is undeniably beautiful. Those vibrant red and white stripes, the flowing, almost feathery fins, it's quite something native to the South Pacific reef, like the source says.
Yeah.
However, those elegant fins hide a defense mechanism. Sharp, poisonous fin spines.
So it's not like a venomous bite, but a poison delivered through a puncture if you brush against those spines. The article mentions these wounds are incredibly throbbing, painful, though thankfully usually not fatal for humans.
That's exactly right. The spines themselves have venom glands. When a spine pierces the skin, the venom gets in, causing that intense throbbing pain. The article does a good job describing its look too, those long, dramatic fin spines on its back, the big, almost wing-like pectoral fins, and the really striking zebra stripes. It's quite a sight.
It really is. Like an underwater art piece
Well,
with a secret weapon. And it has some interesting ways of protecting itself. It flares out its fins when threatened.
yeah, it does. It'll flare those fins out as a warning. And according to the article, if it feels particularly provoked, it can even actively turn and attack with those sharp dorsal spines.
Wow. Okay.
Precisely. While its main way of hunting is stealth and quick strikes on shrimp and small fish, it won't hesitate to use those venomous spines if it feels cornered or threatened.
And the effects of a sting on us, even if not usually deadly, still sound pretty awful.
Yeah.
Extreme pain, sometimes breathing difficulties, nausea. Definitely want to avoid that. The article also points out you might see them in Caribbean waters, which is interesting because they're actually invasive there, aren't they?
That's a really crucial point, yeah. While they're natural in the Indo-Pacific, they've become a huge problem as an invasive species in the Caribbean and the Atlantic.
How so?
Well, they have no natural predators there, and they're just voraciously eating native fish populations. It's causing serious damage to the ecological balance of those reefs. So, yeah, captivating to look at, but keeping a respectful distance is vital for you and the local marine environment.
Absolutely.
Well,
Okay, let's move to something with a perhaps more sinister reputation, the moray eel. Our source jumps right in, mentioning its murderous jaws with firm, sharp teeth. Doesn't sound very welcoming.
No, it certainly doesn't. Moray eels are ambush predators. Their powerful jaws and those sharp, backward-pointing teeth, perfectly designed for grabbing and holding on to slippery prey.
Makes sense.
The article rightly advises against disturbing them if you want to avoid an unpleasant encounter. They have a very strong bite and can inflict serious cuts if they feel threatened or if you accidentally stick your hand into their hiding spot.
And there are quite a few different kinds of these guys lurking around, right? The article says around 80 species.
Yep, about 80. It's a very diverse group. They're commonly found in shallow, subtropical, and tropical waters all over the world. They love hiding in complex structures like coral reefs and rocky crevices. Their camouflage is often excellent.
So easy to get too close without realizing.
Exactly. Unsuspecting divers or snorkelers might not even see them.
The article highlights places like Egypt, Mexico, Belize as spots where you might find them. So if you're exploring those reefs, good to remember they might be tucked away. Best to look, but definitely don't touch.
That's the golden rule with morays. Give them space, and they're highly unlikely to bother you. But if you provoke them, intentionally or accidentally, by reaching into their den, that defensive bite can be quite nasty. Plus, there's a risk of infection from bacteria in their mouths.
Noted. All right, next up, the tigerfish. The article draws a pretty direct line between its name and its danger, suggests keeping a respectful distance.
Yeah, the name tigerfish definitely brings ferocity to mind, and it's pretty accurate here. The source highlights their incredibly sharp teeth, which can cause significant painful injuries if you get too close.
Yeah.
These are efficient predators with some serious dental hardware.
And they look the part too, right? Lengthwise stripes, though that varies by species apparently, and those prominent dagger-like teeth that are often visible even when their mouths are closed.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty clear warning sign right there.
Absolutely. Those visible teeth are a dead giveaway. While the article doesn't go deep into specific species or exact locations for all tigerfish, they're generally found in fresh water across Africa. The main takeaway: any fish sporting teeth like that warrants a very wide berth.
Agreed. Okay, now we're venturing into slightly more legendary territory, maybe. The candiru, found in the Amazon River. The article gives it that unsettling nickname, vampire fish, because it feeds on blood.
The candiru. Yeah, it has quite the infamous reputation. That vampire fish name definitely captures the essence of its, well, somewhat gruesome parasitic lifestyle. As the article says, it lives mainly in the Amazon and other freshwater spots in South America.
And the article touches on some rather disturbing anecdotes, almost urban legends, about attacks on humans. Specifically, entering the body through the urethra, leading to bleeding, pain, inflammation, potentially death. Sounds like a horror movie.
The accounts of candiru entering the urethra are certainly graphic, yeah. They've fueled a lot of fear and speculation. While these incidents are definitely part of local folklore and some anecdotal reports exist, rigorously documented, scientifically verified cases are actually quite rare.
Really?
Yeah, there's ongoing debate in the scientific community about how likely this actually is. Their main feeding strategy involves latching onto the gills of larger fish to feed on blood. But the possibility, however slim, combined with their parasitic nature, definitely contributes to their unsettling image.
Still, the thought alone is enough to make you wince. The article lists Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and the Amazon River as where they live. So if you're in those remote waters, maybe something to keep in the back of your mind, even if the risk is low.
Being aware of local wildlife and taking precautions is always smart when exploring unfamiliar places, regardless of how often specific incidents happen. The candiru, with its unique, if unsettling, habits, is definitely a creature that warrants caution and respect in the Amazonian ecosystem.
Definitely. Okay, let's move to something shocking.
Yeah.
Literally, the electric eel. Our source immediately highlights its unique ability to generate powerful electric charges.
The electric eel is truly remarkable. That bioelectric capability is fascinating. As the article explains, it uses these powerful discharges for a couple of main reasons. One, to deter predators, and two, to stun prey. It basically immobilizes them, making them easy to catch. It's a fantastic adaptation.
And despite the name, it's not actually a true eel, biologically speaking.
That's absolutely right. Good point.
The article describes it as slender, snake-like, cylindrical, and living exclusively in freshwater.
Exactly. Despite the common name, they're actually a type of knifefish. Their elongated shape is perfect for navigating the often murky freshwaters of the Amazon River basin, which, as the article notes, is their main habitat.
And they can get surprisingly big, up to 22 kilos and almost 3 meters long. That's a substantial fish packing a serious jolt.
Indeed. And the voltage is pretty remarkable, 330 up to maybe 650 volts, according to the source. That's certainly enough power to deliver a significant, potentially debilitating shock to a human. Could cause temporary paralysis or worse, depending on someone's health and how long the shock lasts.
Yikes. Definitely not something you'd want to accidentally brush up against. And being primarily in the Amazon basin in South America means anyone exploring those rivers should be especially aware.
Precisely. While electric eels don't typically attack humans unprovoked, accidental encounters can happen. And that shock can be powerful and disorienting. It's another great example of a fascinating creature demanding respect and an understanding of its unique, slightly shocking abilities.
Okay, now we're heading into waters with a creature that has a truly fearsome reputation, often depicted in pop culture as like relentlessly ravenous predators, piranhas. The article certainly doesn't downplay their danger.
No, the piranha's reputation is widespread, and the article rightly reinforces that, their most defining feature, those incredibly sharp teeth. And the collective bite force they can exert is astonishing, reportedly up to 20 to 30 times their own body weight.
Wait, 20 to 30 times their weight. That sounds unbelievably powerful. The article illustrates this by saying a school of them could efficiently crush and eat even large animals really quickly. That's a pretty dramatic image.
It is. Now, the Hollywood image of piranhas instantly stripping something to the bone might be a bit exaggerated for most situations.
Okay, good.
But their powerful bite and those razor teeth mean they can inflict serious, rapidly accumulating damage, especially when feeding in groups. They're opportunistic feeders, quickly drawn to blood or disturbances in the water.
Right. Now, here's a slightly surprising detail the article brings up. Japan. As a place you might encounter piranhas. That's definitely not their native home, is it?
No, absolutely not. Piranhas are native to the warm, fresh waters of South America, primarily the Amazon and Orinoco river basins. Finding them in places like Japan is almost certainly due to the aquarium trade.
Huh?
Unfortunately, sometimes these exotic pets get released into local waterways. They can potentially establish populations and disrupt native ecosystems. It's a reminder that human activities can really shift species distribution, sometimes with negative consequences.
Interesting. And yeah, a bit concerning ecologically.
Yeah.
All right, finally, we come to a creature that relies heavily on stealth. The stonefish. The article describes it perfectly found in shallow Indo-Pacific waters, looking almost exactly like a rock or coral on the seabed.
The stonefish is a true master of disguise, yeah. It blends in perfectly with rocky, coral-filled areas in those shallow Indo-Pacific waters. This amazing camouflage, great for ambushing prey like small fish and crustaceans, also poses a huge danger to unwary humans who might accidentally step on them.
And that accidental step is exactly when the danger happens, right? The article explains that when pressure is applied, like a foot stepping down, it deploys venom from specialized spines. And this venom can be excruciatingly painful and sometimes even fatal.
That's it. The stonefish has a series of venomous spines along its back. When it feels threatened, like being stepped on, these spines pop up, injecting potent venom. It causes immediate, agonizing pain, significant swelling, tissue damage, and in severe cases, especially if medical help is delayed, it can indeed be fatal, particularly for more vulnerable people.
Wow.
It truly embodies that phrase, still waters run deep, or maybe still stones inject dangerous venom.
Definitely a creature to be extremely cautious around, or rather, to actively avoid stepping on if you're in those tropical Indo-Pacific regions.
Yeah.
So, wow, we've certainly journeyed through the ocean's less cuddly inhabitants today. Looking back at this deep dive into the 10 most deadly fish creatures, what's a key takeaway that sticks with you?
The overarching message, I think, is just how incredibly diverse and complex marine life really is. The ocean holds breathtaking beauty, like we said at the start, right?
Yeah.
But it also harbors this remarkable array of creatures that have evolved fascinating and sometimes quite dangerous adaptations for survival. These aren't malicious animals necessarily, but they possess potent defenses or highly effective predatory skills that absolutely demand our respect and, well, a healthy dose of caution when we share their environment.
Yeah, absolutely. We set out to become well-informed about these intriguing yet potentially hazardous organisms, and I think we've definitely done that. This has been way more than just a list of scary fish. We've dug into the specific threats, potent toxins, powerful bites, electric charges, clever venom delivery. It's a fantastic shortcut to understanding some of the lesser-known, but no less fascinating, parts of marine life.
Exactly. And hopefully this deep dive has sparked, an informed curiosity rather than just fear. Understanding these creatures, their habitats, their unique defenses, their role in the ecosystem allows all of us to appreciate the intricate web of life under the sea and to interact with it more responsibly and ultimately more safely.
Well said. On that note, here's a final thought for everyone listening. We've focused a lot on the dangers today, but maybe it's also worth thinking about the incredible evolutionary pressures that drove these remarkable, sometimes lethal adaptations.
That's a great point.
What challenges in their environments led to such potent venoms or powerful jaws or even the ability to generate electricity? It's a whole other fascinating deep dive just waiting to happen. Thanks for joining us.